Gargantuan game for both of these teams. A 2-2 series in a game 5. I mean, they're
Yeah.
overwhelming favorites whichever way it goes.
Joel Embiid, the perpetual dance, he was questionable before today, or maybe it was probable. I think it was
I think it was
probable.
probable.
Yeah, Redick steals the tip nicely, and Ben Simmons will control. Leonard has the matchup on him early. He guarded Butler later as they try to run a little Spain pick and roll action. Post up Ben Simmons on Lowry. Lowry fighting hard. They want to get Simmons going early here. Double team comes. Simmons looks to pass. He's got Harris closed down by Green into the lane. Great steal from Leonard. And now Siakam is ahead of the field. He's going to try and finish on Butler and did not get the call. Great play by Butler.
Was good to see a little bit more burst from Siakam than game 4.
Yeah, and Rosgold on Wude, as Simmons is going to get called for a loose ball fall here, she was reporting that the calf was better for Siakam now, but the hamstring has been causing him some difficulty with lateral mobility. Lowry guarded by Butler. Double high screen. Lowry could just take that three, but he's just trying to run the play instead. I think when you have a shot like that, you got to take it running the play or no. But this is their ATO first play of the game. Here's Leonard looking to engage Simmons. Just that pace is so slow for Leonard. And then Simmons knocks away. Siakam's going to have to launch. Not a good job by Embiid getting out there on him, but he does get the rebound. Butler guarded by Green. Butler scored pretty well on Danny Green. Did not do as well when they switched Leonard onto him. Here's Embiid going past Gasol and just not able to finish that.
Well, I think Gasol gave a little bit too much respect to Embiid's jump shot there. That was a more cursory pump fake to me. It didn't look like he was really squaring up for a shot.
I respectfully disagree with you. I think you cannot let Joel Embiid just shoot that face-up jump shot from 15 feet. He's very effective with that if he doesn't have to put it on the floor. 9 on the clock. Butler into the lane. Stopped by Leonard off of Simmons and forces a miss. Kawhi Leonard, 3 big plays and help defense already. Here's Green in transition, attacks on Harris, has to launch it to the top. Leonard, his three-pointer is in and out, and Jimmy Butler gambled for the steal on Gasol, leaving Leonard open. Here's Simmons going at Leonard into the lane and missed the layup. A couple of easy missed layups here from the Sixers. Now here's Leonard, tries to go through 2 guys, and he's going to get a foul call. I'm not sure who got him this time.
I think they're saying Tobias Harris caught him on the hand on a reach, and that would, assuming that's the way they called it, that would be Tobias Harris's first. Let me take a look and see if we can get a specific on that. My box score loads up pretty slowly, so it takes some time.
Gasol at the elbow, looks to hand off, denied by Simmons. Now it's Lowry. He jacks the 3. Yes! Kyle Lowry, big shot for him, and the lid's off the bucket for these teams at 3-0 Toronto.
And the foul did go to Tobias Harris.
Embiid looking to hand off to Redick. That game works very well against Gasol. That's going to lead to an open Harris 3, and he drains it. Siakam had to help out on Redick, and a 1 pass away, easy look for Harris, who did not make those in Game 4. Now Lowry attacking Harris, goes into the lane, and Harris picks up his second. And Harris is a pretty low foul guy. I would stay with him if I were Brett Brown here.
Yeah, or you could do the path of pull him for like a beat or two just to talk and say like, hey, it's okay, and then bring him right back in. You could use Ennis just as a stopgap for
and maybe come back with him when Embiid is taken out.
Right, that's my idea.
Like him, I think that's a great idea because you can't go that stretch when Embiid is out without Harris. Then you got only Butler. You're going against the Raptors starters as Lowry has been off from the foul line at times in this series. Had some big misses in Game 2. Lowry 1 of 2, giving Toronto a 1-point advantage.
Yeah, and Lowry didn't get to the free throw line at all in Game 4.
Leonard has the matchup on Simmons. We've seen him make plays off of Simmons. A lot of time running down here. Embiid looks to get it to Redick. Here's the handoff. Lowry trying to get through it. Pick and roll. Embiid into the lane. Scores on Leonard easily. Joel Embiid much more active in the pick and roll in this series than really we've ever seen him in his Philadelphia career. Here's Siakam looking much more aggressive, and Siakam has been stopped by Embiid early, but that is not the way that Philly has gone with the matchup so far. It's been Embiid guarding Gasol. There's Simmons trying to post up. Green prevents him from getting it. Now Simmons trying to duck in again, but all he does is gum up the spacing there.
Yeah, and that was also a really nice job on the last play by Siakam going after Tobias Harris, who just picked up his second foul. And by moving quickly, he was able to get that layup up before Embiid recovered.
See, I like Simmons, rather than in the dunker spot where it's hard to get him a direct pass on that post up, put him at the opposite elbow.
I agree with that.
Because then he can either back screen for guys. He's got more of a cutting angle if the double team comes. Here's the drive by Simmons, almost traveled. Now Harris into the lane, pulls up, and Siakam, not a good close out there. Got to get to his right hand.
They conceded that 3 to Siakam.
Now it is Embiid on Siakam, Leonard, and this will be yet another foul on Philly.
And that's Ben Simmons' second.
Yeah, he had that loose ball foul earlier.
Mm-hmm.
What's sticking out to you so far here?
Well, I mean, I think it's going to be the foul trouble, but also I think, relatively low scoring early on relative to the amount of chances they've had. I think both teams have missed some good ones. Not that one, though.
I thought that was a good one. I think anytime...
Oh, his hand wasn't up. His hand was out.
Yeah, anytime you can shoot the ball without having to put it on the floor in your normal shooting motion, that's usually pretty good. Here's Butler trying to post. Double team comes from Gasol. Embiid looking to drive on Gasol. Euro steps around him, and they're going to call Gasol for this foul. And yes, Gasol very slightly veered over into his path. He did not stay set on the attempt to take that charge. Watch Gasol here. He's going to move his body slightly to the left there, and that's just enough.
And it was more his torso than his feet, and sometimes that can trick refs because they see the feet are pretty still, and then they don't call it. But that's the right call.
Embiid missing the first free throw. Also had some key free throw misses, 3 in the fourth quarter of Game 4. Both teams struggling to score here early. Lowry off a double screen, blows past Mike Scott into the lane. Now throws it up over Embiid as Embiid just let him go. But the problem is they're switching. Mike Scott needs to stay with Lowry on that play once he gets blown by. Instead, he thought Embiid was going to late switch onto him. And, I can't necessarily put that on Scott, but miscommunication certainly between those two guys.
See if we have any questions. I'll mention, as I'm looking, patreon.com/DuncanLaRue. We put out a subscriber-only podcast yesterday. Lots of fun stuff in there, including how we think our day-to-day would change if we ended up with an NBA team, free agent scenarios, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So that's good, and we do those at least once a month. There will actually be 2 in May because this was our April 1, and it was late.
Yeah, we do them at least once every 35 days.
Yeah, let's put it that way.
And at least twice every 60 days.
Why don't the Sixers use Simmons like the Nuggets use Jokic? If he can't shoot, put him close to the basket. Well, first of all, Simmons isn't the tallest guy on the floor, and the Sixers have less shooting. So if you put him closer to the basket, then his guy can gum up every other thing they're doing around the basket. That could be cuts, that could be dribble drives, all those sorts of things. That player is right there.
Well, and I think also they got other mouths to feed.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Joel Embiid, Jimmy Butler in pick and roll, and so it's just they got to find. I mean, that's a big problem with Simmons. You got to find somewhere for him to stand, and it's really the fit with this group that's in question.
Most likely lower seeded team to move on in this round. So that would be. I mean, I don't think it's the Celtics. So then that would be the Rockets, the Sixers, or the Blazers.
I'm gonna say it's Philly actually maybe.
I'm going with the Blazers for right now.
Yeah.
But to me, those are the 2 closest. I mean, the Rockets have played well. The Rockets outplayed the Warriors both games in Houston, but I think that they're probably number 3 of that group.
Yeah, but I think any of those two teams have a chance.
Absolutely.
Sure. I mean, because there haven't been any. Okay, you blew them out 2 games at home, and then they eked out 2 really close ones. when they were at home and it's 2-2 with a massive point differential. That's not the case this year. So this second round so far, Mark Stein called it the best second round ever coming in. I think it's living up to that billing as of now.
Who is playing better in these playoffs, KD or Kawhi? That's a really close call.
I'd ultimately go with Kawhi.
I think so too. I mean,
he's been doing it against better defense, to me.
Right, and I think that the Raptors having more trouble when he's off the floor, I think, is another indication of his value. Like KD has done a really, really good job, and I mean, you're splitting hairs between those two guys, but I would say Kawhi by a slight margin, but both those, they've been incredible.
NBA cast is way better than TV. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Yeah, the missing the whistles and the crowd noise and stuff, that is kind of too bad. Hopefully there will come a time. Like when we did the G League cast, they actually furnished us with a stream that didn't have announcers. So hopefully that is something that could be coming at some point with the NBA. Certainly not for national games anytime soon, I don't think, but the league at least owns the rights to like out-of-market League Pass games and international League Pass, so maybe we'll have a chance there. Green trying to make Butler work to bring it up. Here's Bron's ATO. UCLA cut for Jimmy Butler. They switched that. Now it's Simmons trying to get that post up for Embiid. He has to get out of the lane. Not really in great position, and Gasol knocks it away. That's really, I mean, a lot of just kind of dummy action on the weak side that went absolutely nowhere, followed by Embiid trying to tuck in quite laboriously, and they get nothing here. Redick trying to screen for Butler. Butler in the corner, closed down nicely by Green. Oh, they're going to give him this call. I don't know about that.
There was not much contact there.
I mean, where is he supposed to put his arm? Like, he's not shoving him. He's got his arm basically on his body. Yeah, that one is tough. I mean, technically he's facing the rim. You're not supposed to have the forearm on him. Maybe he needs to get his arms out there. But, I mean, that is a tough call.
Worth noting, though, that...
Here, let's see it again here. Yeah, I mean, that's... Did he get him with the right hand? Oh, yeah, he went through his right hand. Okay, I'll take it back. Take it back.
Thank you for showing the opposite angle, TNT.
Yeah.
That was useful. And also worth noting that Toronto is in the bonus now because they'll be shooting free throws the rest of the way. And at 7:45, that can be a nice foundational boost for their offense. I mean, that's a three if you're calling it a shooting foul because his foot was behind the line when he went up.
Which of these teams is a more interesting matchup against the Bucks? Better or more interesting? I guess those are two different things, perhaps.
I think it's Toronto both ways. Seeing how the Bucks can handle that kind of a score.
Yeah.
And also I think Toronto just has superior defensive personnel, broadly speaking. So I mean both plenty interesting. I mean it's not like a Philly Milwaukee series would suck, but I would rather see Toronto.
Yeah, I mean, I think Philly versus the Bucks would be a lot more interesting tactically. Perhaps. Maybe Toronto would be. I don't know. Toronto has looked a little bit limited offensively here. Leonard, backdoor closed down by Embiid. That leads to the wide open three from Gasol. Can't get it. Leonard rebounds. No Sixer even jumped for it. Gasol looking for Green. Now they'll reset. Lowry, Leonard. He's got Mike Scott. See, that was a bad screen by Siakam. He's got Mike Scott. Just let him go. Your late clock. Instead, he brings Simmons over, switching the superior defender onto him, and they get nothing. That's just like, oh, the ball's over here. I'm going to go run towards you and screen without actually using your brain and thinking about whether that's going to help or not. Redick off the handoff. Lowry trailing. He goes into the lane for the floater. Just a little short, but Butler recovers.
And no one put a body on Jimmy Butler there. They're all standing there trying to get the rebound instead of putting a body on the man.
Yeah, and we
saw that yesterday.
And that no one was Danny Green. Here's Leonard into the lane. Scott's on his back. Gasol pump faking. Lowry off the help from Butler, not there. Danny Green gets an offensive rebound, and this will be a foul. Free throws already for Toronto.
Yeah, and a great example of why getting in the bonus is important. That wouldn't have been free throws. It would have been, fresh shot clock. But instead, they get 2 here. And Danny Green could could cut the margin from 4 to 2. And Danny Green, it's also I was writing about it yesterday. His free agency is getting a little bit of short shrift because of Kawhi, and Kawhi is, justifiably a far bigger star. But we're gonna really see what he values and the complications of his free agency potentially, depending on how competitive Toronto's going to be. It sounds like he took less to stay in San Antonio last time, and very different set of offers, very different set of decisions here.
So, Philly weathering the early foul trouble. Simmons gets it to Monroe at the nail. Now it's Butler. Screen roll. They double team Butler. Nowhere to go. Green almost fouled him. Here's Scott going to have to go to a step back over Gasol. And Mike Scott, who was so magical from mid-range a season ago, as now they throw it ahead to Simmons, and Simmons just blindly knocked it away. I'm sorry, they threw it ahead to Green, and Simmons knocked it away. And now Scott looking to get it into the post to Ben Simmons. Simmons goes into Green. Here's Scott on the cut. Gasol did not get called for the foul. I thought he tripped Scott, but a couple of found money buckets from Mike Scott from 2-point range here.
And that was a nice little bit of finishing considering how congested that paint was. There were 6 guys in that paint.
Leonard just going right through Butler, and Mike Scott with yet another play, and we'll have a jump ball. No, they're going to get a foul here. Brett Braun arguing for a jump ball. It appeared that way to me.
It seemed like if there was a call, and I'm not saying there was, it was more on the first shot than the second. But maybe it's that kind of the soccer idea of an accumulation of infractions. They just called it. But again, another non-shooting foul that became free throws. Or maybe that would have technically been a shooting foul. It was hard to tell because I didn't see the foul. So already in this game, Philly has only taken 1 3-pointer, was that Tobias Harris one. Toronto has taken 5, but Toronto is 1 for 5, so they haven't really created an advantage off of those shots.
Yeah, leading scorer in the game is Tobias Harris. In only 4 minutes, he has 5 points. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Kyle Lowry is now the leading scorer in the game. Missed free throw from Kawhi Leonard, a rarity. They switch Siakam onto Simmons. Now he's got Butler. Butler double teamed, gets it to Monroe. A great hustle by Ibaka to get back into the play, but Monroe scores over him anyway. Philly getting these layups to rim in. Sometimes it's just luck like that. And now Lowry, they're going to draw yet another foul. Toronto doing a great job of driving to the basket. And yeah, they're in the bonus, so a shooting foul would be a shooting foul regardless. But you either have them not putting your hands on you and you can get to the rim more easily, or you're going to get to the free throw line as Lowry just did there.
And so this, I'm trying to piece together this Philly lineup on the floor. It's definitely Ennis, Scott, Monroe, and then Simmons. So it's not a lot of creation in this group. They're going to really have to rely on Simmons. And now that's something we talked about. Tobias Harris is coming back in.
Yeah, well, nonetheless, I mean, during this time when they've got a lot of starters on the floor right now, they've got Ibaka at the 5. They brought him in earlier with Embiid going to the bench. They've moved that way slowly. Yeah, so Toronto would, in theory, have the advantage here. Monroe to Harris, almost lost it. 12 on the clock. Harris being hounded by Siakam. Can't even get a screen from Monroe.
It looked like he was just overly aggressive there.
Yeah, I mean, that was a foul. He got it. Yeah. He got a little bit too handsy.
I mean, it was probably like 8 seconds when he committed the foul, so I think he could have toned back just a step, though you don't want to tell that to a really strong defender.
They go under on Simmons and get the switch, trying to post Monroe on Kawhi underneath. Harris gets it to the corner. Scott closed down nicely by Green, who was on Harris originally. Now Scott with the fade, rims out. Monroe on the offensive glass, stripped by Lowry.
Great job. Great hands by Lowry there.
Here's Kawhi into transition, a 3-pointer in the corner from Siakam, and he was 0 for 4 on those in the first quarter of Game 4, looking much more like himself early tonight.
And not only was he 0 for 4 then, he didn't take another 3, I believe, in the rest of the game.
No, and he was being left wide open. Oh, Simmons with the quick move goes around Ibaka, but blows the layup. He's had a number of those. And then look at Lowry just take it away. That was an easy rebound for Monroe, and then Green just loses it. Kyle Lowry, as Ibaka is down here, I didn't catch precisely what happened to him.
Yeah, and while that pass was a little bit in front of Danny Green, it hit him in the hands. Like, you have to...
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's one thing if you, like, kind of fumbled it, but just to lose it out of bounds. Looked like Ibaka is got hit in the head. Try and scroll back and see what happened to him here. Oh, I think Kawhi going for the rebound elbowed him. Yeah, I think that they just showed it. Oof, yeah, that is pretty crushing. The good news is that's the hardest part of your head is your forehead.
Ow, that was a pretty hard contact. We've seen a series of like unusual elbows to the head in these playoffs. Like we had Draymond got elbowed in the back of the head by James Harden last night.
Yeah, well, hopefully it's more of like a bleeding thing than a concern for like a concussion or anything like that.
Absolutely.
So we'll go in 4:25 left in the first, 2-point Sixers lead.
Question from the other Darius. Do the Warriors need to play through Curry more? When they create an advantage with it, like I thought that he did a nice job as a driver. Oh yeah, that's right. The podcast isn't out other than for Patreon subscribers. We talked about this a little bit on the podcast we recorded last night, but will be released as a part of tonight's show. And I do think they need to go to that more often. Not zealously, like if it's not working, they have a lot of other ways to turn, but I do think they should use them more in general, yeah. Thank you to Kaiser Soze 99 for subscribing with Twitch Prime. Even if you're not watching on Twitch, if you want to support us, it's a great other way to do it beyond the Patreon. Basically, what you need to do is you connect your Twitch account with Amazon, and if you have Amazon Prime, you get to subscribe to, I believe it's one channel, and that gets us money a way that I'm not entirely sure of, but it does. So thank you.
What is the cat's name? That is Caprica 6, but she goes by 6, and then the other cat's name is 3 because he was one of 3 outdoor mousing cats at my dad's farm in New Mexico that he was one of the 3, and so I took him to that was 12 years ago to be my kitten.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really? Well, I know you've had 3 the whole time I've known you, but I didn't realize it was that long.
Yeah, no, he's still pretty spry for a 12-year-old guy.
Yeah. What is the theoretical perfect team constructed around Ben Simmons? I mean, you want him to be your worst shooter by a pretty significant margin. And so one of the challenges is you need a rim protector who can shoot in ideal circumstance. And I would say a complementary ball handler. It doesn't have to be a point guard, but just like a guy who can initiate a little bit. And then the other spots can just be wings that can shoot. So that's the general idea. But I'm a firm believer that having 2 non-shooters on the floor, especially if they're both can't shoot and won't shoot guys, I think that's just untenable. Like if you want to be a really, really good team in the modern NBA. Let's see.
Yeah.
This seems like a longer stoppage than usual.
It always does. Twitch Prime, yeah, is the worst cuts in NBA history. Robert Covington, the Rockets would be one.
Well, wait, I'm trying to remember with the Nash one. Could they not patch it in time? Was that right? Remember what?
Oh, that kind of cut. I was thinking of like guys who got cut from the team.
I'm assuming, considering what just happened, they were talking about the other.
Yeah, no, probably the Nash game 1 of 2007 against the Spurs.
Oh, somebody's saying there was blood on the court. Yeah, that takes longer to clean up. Would the Mavs be a good fit for Simmons, or does he take the ball, too much of the ball from Luka? I think those guys would be a little bit too much together, because Simmons, when he doesn't have the ball, it just can pull defenders away, and can put defenders in the wrong places.
Harris on the drive, they swing it to Ennis. Good pressure from Lowry. Powell too late with the switch, and he's going to get called for the foul. Not good enough. Lowry says, and Powell just has made mistakes. Like, that's just, you got to know that's a switch right there. And Lowry's like, what are you doing? And what is he doing? I don't know why he wouldn't just be there ready to switch out on it. I mean, like, that's a James Ennis, Mike Scott pick and roll that they got 2 free throws out of. It's just an inexcusable mistake. That's why he's not playing in the series. Ennis with the second free throw. I think Philly with the foul trouble that was not close. With the foul trouble, got to be feeling pretty good on the road here right now. Screen roll, Lowry. Back to Siakam. He's going to take this, feeling better. In it goes.
Yeah,
big shot there. If he can draw Embiid further out on the floor and open it up to the drives. Now Powell actually does switch. He's pressuring Harris. They're going to switch this again out top. No real advantage being gained here. Embiid in the post against Gasol. Gasol facing up nicely. Now here comes the double team, interestingly, and they just lost it out of bounds. I like the double team with this limited unit out there. Not good spacing. You see Harris and Simmons standing next to each other on the weak side. Lowry, Siakam, now he's feeling himself, goes into Embiid. I thought that was a foul, and he will in fact get one.
And so these are going to be the 8th and 9th free throws. Sorry, the 9th and 10th free throws for the Toronto Raptors in this first quarter. Still 3.5 minutes to go. Yeah,
this is now 8 fouls by Philly in this quarter. That is not good. I think
and 3 different guys have 2.
Yeah, I mean, and I think I've agreed with the calls. It's been, some of them have been kind of ticky-tack, but you're reaching in, you're fouling them, It's pretty obvious.
I think so far this has been a reasonably well officiated game. We'll see how that continues, but in the early going, kudos.
So Redick is back. They usually match he and Embiid's minutes almost perfectly, but Redick had one more short stint on the bench. So look for a lot of that handoff action between those two guys, which that's where they can take advantage of Gasol's lack of mobility, probably the most of anything they can do here. The other being maybe Butler pick and roll.
And we'll see if the free throw shooting continues to be around. Both teams have already missed 3 in the first quarter.
Double screen up top. They keep Butler out of the middle. Good job by Van Vliet. Embiid will step into his three-pointer, and it's off. Almost another lucky bounce for the Sixers there. Toronto with a 1-point lead. Siakam looking to get Embiid in the air. Now gets Leonard, who has not been featured as much early. Leonard has Butler on his back, just bumps him off. Siakam keeps it alive. Powell, he's got Van Vliet, who loads up a 3. Yes!
He made a shot!
Fred Van Vliet, that's what he can do, is hit open shots. He's been miscast trying to run pick and roll on the second unit here. He can do that in the regular season, but Philly is too big. Here's the straight double on Embiid, and then he just throws it over Scott's head.
And
2 double teams, 2 turnovers.
Right, and one of them was ball handling, one of them was passing. And Embiid can make that pass a meaningful portion of the time, but they're speeding him up a little bit, and I do really like that.
Screen roll for Van Vliet. Now back to Siakam. Siakam's feeling it now. Can't get a third in a row from downtown, though. Again, above the break, just not quite as comfortable yet as in the corners. Next year, I think we'll see a lot of that. Harris has the size advantage on Van Vliet, but he's a tough guy. Harris forced towards the baseline. Now Butler into the lane on Van Vliet. Gasol comes over with the help. Butler misses the layup. Good help from Gasol. Leonard looking to push it. Engages Scott. Euro steps around him. Nice deflection from Harris. And part of the problem there is Toronto just not running the floor hard enough. If you get guys, and this is a problem for the Bucks early in the series against Boston. if you get guys down there into the corners, now you don't have 3 guys in the lane that Leonard has to deal with.
Yeah, including Redick there trying to draw a charge and getting in Kawhi's body.
Powell has the advantage on Redick. He should just go here. Instead, do not get the switch. Powell into the lane. Siakam fumbles it. And now they're going to say this is Philly ball, which is odd.
Yeah, it looked like it went off of Scott.
Yeah, maybe it got deflected off of Siakam's knees, although he was not in agreement with the call.
Vehement.
Now Leonard is guarding Butler with Simmons out of the game. Embiid looks to attack, almost traveled again, throws up an impossible shot and scores. Now they can push it, though, with Embiid out of the play. 4-on-4. Here's Powell into the lane. Pretty conservative, though, and he gets it back out. Siakam, now he wants Leonard to come post up. Not enough spacing, though. Powell's got to get further down into the corner. Instead, Siakam goes at Scott, cannot get it. Scott lost it out of bounds, though.
And so that'll be a fresh 14 for the Toronto Raptors. They've taken 9 threes so far. Philly has taken 2. They had that early Tobias Harris one, and then the Joel Embiid one's their only other one of the game.
Leonard switched onto on the baseline. They've got 14 on the clock. Barely get it into Siakam. In fact, they did not. He lost it. Not a hard enough cut there from Siakam to get open. They had to. Van Vliet had nowhere to go and just had to speculatively throw it out there to him.
And I mean, he did throw it in a place that didn't lead to a opponent fast break, but jeez.
Pick and roll. Butler into Gasol. Another miss forced by Marc Gasol at the rim. With Leonard on him, Butler has to accelerate to the rim. He's not going to find the space in the mid-range with Leonard's length over the top. Here's Powell's three-pointer off the help from Leonard. Can't get it. Butler going to go back to goal here against Van Vliet. Tries to clear him out. Help coming from the top. Nice spin move, but he can't get anywhere with it. Now it's Embiid into the lane. Gets his pocket picked. A third turnover for Embiid in this quarter. Here's Powell right to Leonard for the easy left-handed dunk, his favorite with that left hand.
And the turnover margin is only 5-4 in favor of Toronto, but getting the ones they've gotten in Embiid is significant.
Here's Harris off the screen roll, and Gasol will pick up a second blocking foul here
and that's
in
free
the quarter.
Throws. Yeah, and he moved into Harris there. He doesn't Harris was just dribbling and Gasol wasn't set. Sometimes they don't call that, but it's a foul based on the way the rule is supposed to be called.
Yeah, I mean Gasol is he's very cagey about looking like he's standing still while still slightly moving over at the same time, and he's gotten called for that a couple of times here.
Yeah, and depending on what's going on with Serge Ibaka, that might be more significant.
Yeah, and I like Harris in pick and roll here, maybe more than Butler if Leonard is going to be on Butler. Let Harris get to that mid-ranger, or even a pull-up three if you're setting it way out on the floor, or you force Gasol way out on the floor, and then Harris can get around him as he would have that time, but for the foul.
So per Blake Murphy, Ibaka is getting stitches and is expected to return.
2-second differential, so Toronto will run the time down here. As mentioned, they can go a little bit earlier, as you usually do. Here's the double, but then they just switch out. Here's Leonard into the lane, and he scores. Embiid lucky not to pick up the foul. 8 seconds, though, so Philly can do something here. Powell onto Butler, called out by Kawhi. Butler with that three-pointer going to his right. He loves that shot, and he got fouled on the elbow. Oh, Norm Powell with just 2 terrible mental errors in this first quarter.
And that's the downside of going too early. I mean, remember, we saw that with Danny Green twice in the same game. I think teams should go earlier than they normally do.
But that was way too early.
That was way too early. I mean, he made the shot with 8 seconds left, and so even if the only way that could have worked out for Toronto theoretically would be if they got the offensive rebound, because that was plenty of time to get all the way down the floor.
Yeah, I mean, Leonard did see a chance to attack off that botched switch and scored, but that exchange is going to turn out to their detriment lightly, assuming Butler hits his third free throw. .5 left, not enough time to do anything. And after a low-scoring start to the quarter, we get up to 26-27, although much faster pace, Danny, than we've seen in the rest of the series. This series is being played at an incredibly slow pace, about 95 possessions per game and 26 possessions apiece here. And that was fueled in large part by the turnover percentages, both teams at 19% turnovers.
Yeah, I mean, you had a combined 9 turnovers in the first half by the two teams. A fair number of those weren't live ball, but it still gives you an opportunity to push a little bit more. And also, Toronto, I thought they were taking threes more aggressively, and so sometimes that can lead to a faster pace because they're taking them earlier in the shot clock. I will take some questions. What makes you say Siakam will add the above the break 3 next year? Is mechanics, tracking his progression, both or other? I think it's both. Usually, a player. I personally, when I've shot from the NBA distance, I thought the corner 3 was harder. I've asked players about this before, and most of them just say it's closer. And so for them, the difference in sight line doesn't bother them as much as it bothered me. But you need to get the footwork a little bit different, and a lot of guys go corner than above the break, especially if they aren't natural shooters, and Siakam was, 26% last year, so it makes sense that they would start there. Also, spacing out to the corner can sometimes, for like a power forward, can be a normal place within an offensive system, so now they can be a little bit more versatile with him. What have you thought about Houston putting Harden on KD whenever Tucker's out of the game? I think the Warriors need to attack it more. It is a decent approach within the kind of the constraints of what the Warriors do offensively. Harden I don't think they've just given him the ball and said go often enough. Sometimes that's been, and we saw this in this game so far, players just going over and setting screens for him to get different players on. But I think KD should attack that matchup more. 1, to make Harden work harder. 2, because it's an advantage. And 3, because Harden can get in foul trouble. And the more fouls you get on James Harden, it'll affect the way he plays. And theoretically, you could get him out of the game if you have enough fouls.
Let's check out the shot charts, which our director of basketball research, Ben Dull, is providing us. Follow him on Twitter at Ben_Dull. Toronto, only 2 of 5 at the rim, but they've done it largely at the free throw line, and a lot of that has been done attacking the rim, and then nothing else really too sexy on their shot chart. 2 of 5 at the rim, but a lot of free throws, obviously, that they got attacking the rim. How about Philly?
So Philly has taken 10 of their 18 shots at the rim, but they've only made 4 of those 10. Marc Gasol has done a particularly nice job contesting. 1 of 3 from floater range, 2 of 3 from mid-range. They've only taken 2 threes. Both were above the break. 1 that Embiid missed, 1 that Tobias Harris made. Yeah, and it is notable also that Toronto, they've gotten some offensive rebounds, 4 rebounds, which gives them a 33% offensive rebound rate. Much better than Philadelphia so far.
All right, we're back. Lowry has returned. Van Vliet remains on the court with Lowry. I think Nurse maybe liked what he saw in that stint. Here's Embiid erasing Siakam. These are the no Leonard minutes with Philly 4 starters on the floor. Butler into Ibaka, another missed layup. Butler has missed 3 at the rim so far. That one was a more difficult contest. Here's Siakam back to goal. Double teamed by Embiid, who moved quickly. Gasol looking to drive. Goes to the fade over his right shoulder. Skill level from the big Spaniard that time.
And they were helping off of Van Vliet in the corner there, but Gasol thought he had a line and took the shot, made the shot.
Butler guarded by Lowry in a size mismatch. Siakam on Ennis, which should hopefully enable him to help. And looks like we're going to get a hold here underneath. Yeah, it was Van Vliet holding Redick.
Quick foul trouble update. Players with 2, Tobias Harris, Ben Simmons, Mike Scott, Norm Powell, and Marc Gasol.
This lineup from Toronto, they are staying big. Ibaka has returned with the 3 stitches to the head. And quite a nice welt also, they've got Siakam at the 3 here now. Powell is out. Flare screen for Harris. He pulls into an easy mid-ranger. That's fantastic work by Joel Embiid, setting a big screen on Lowry.
And Harris is now tied with Siakam for leading scorer in the game.
Ibaka, mid-ranger, gets Embiid in the air, goes in and dunks it on James Ennis. Joel Embiid in pick and roll just a little bit too slow. We saw him struggle against Al Horford. And that's something I thought we'd see more of here, is that pick and pop with Ibaka or Gasol to take advantage of Embiid. Now it's Harris in the post against Lowry. The stout post defender, corner. Ennis closed down by Siakam. Now it's Harris at the foul line, not there, and Gasol rebounds. Raptors looking to push again. Again, they're not getting guys down into the corners. Instead, it's Lowry looking to attack Redick one-on-one, goes right into his body, and he's going to be a foul on Redick. So a couple of times Philly has wanted there to be a jump ball, and instead a foul was called.
I mean, we didn't have a great camera angle on it, but it looked like Redick got ball first to me. I was kind of excited for that jump ball, so now we don't get it.
Yeah, we'll see whether a shooting foul is given. It is not, despite Lowry's pleas. Hand off to Lowry from Ibaka. Gets into the lane. Mid-ranger, Ibaka. Yes, Serge Ibaka, who was absolutely on fire at one point, a couple months into the year, was shooting 59% on mid-rangers, and that waned a little bit, but he's been very effective from there, much less so from three-point range for some reason this year.
And if Embiid is respecting that shot, creates a few more seams for the Raptors offense.
Ennis switched onto by Lowry. Now Embiid far out on the floor. They're not going to the post-ups. Then Embiid just goes through Ibaka for the total bullshit foul. Just got to have better discipline there if you're Ibaka. I mean, he just reached out his arm and grabbed him.
Yeah.
Leonard is back after a 2-minute and 13-second break.
And they actually were +4 in that 2:13.
Yeah, that's big. Redick off the screen from Embiid. Now he's in the post. Decent position here. Traveled as he went to the spin move. No call. Now he goes into the lane and yet another turnover. I mean, Embiid is just driving to nowhere on these. It's been awful. Leonard, Gasol, feeling it. Yes.
Wow. So we're seeing the floor stretching of Toronto's bigs really make a difference in this second quarter in particular.
Well, and this is the time when Philly was supposed to be making up ground, and that hasn't happened. And now when Embiid has to go back to the bench, their defense is going to be vulnerable.
Yeah, 9-2 start to the quarter for Toronto.
Yeah, and Embiid, I mean, he's just been terrible. There's no other way to say it. He's been taken advantage of defensively with the pick and pop in this stint. 4 turnovers already. Each one of those turnovers was just atrocious too. Like, really bad stuff.
Driving into a thicket, a couple nice double teams from the Raptors. Yeah, he has 4 of their 9 turnovers. Sorry, 4 of their 6 turnovers. The other 2 were Ben Simmons. They've committed 9 fouls, 6 turnovers. Oh, your mic's out.
No, it's on.
No, it's on. Oh, maybe that was from earlier.
Yeah, no, I sat down and started talking for 10 seconds. That's old, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it just popped in.
Yeah. Rich Hoffman echoing what we're saying, a beat writer for The Athletic in Philly, that the simple post-ups for Embiid should just be out of the game plan. Pretty much.
Somebody wrote #FreeBoban. Not in this series. I mean, he just Toronto can just attack him too aggressively. We actually saw that in Game 1, I believe. There isn't a place for him. He's entertaining, but this is high level basketball. Who is the best Kawhi stopper?
KD has always done a pretty good job with him. Now him, that was back when he was with the Spurs.
Theoretically, it would be Kawhi. But that is impossible.
And worth noting, KD doesn't get through screens that well, but the Spurs didn't really do as much pick and roll for Kawhi and didn't have the spacing that this Raptors team does. So that might be a weakness there. I mean, when we got asked that question actually on the Patreon mailbag of who is the most versatile scorer in the league, and I ended up going with Kawhi by a hair over Durant, and that's why there isn't really a great Kawhi stopper, because he's got ways to score at every possible level and against every possible matchup, really. So
Yeah, like you can't
got to
put
be
you
strong.
can't put a small, strong guy on him in
Yeah.
the same way that you can with KD.
Yeah,
I don't think that does as much damage.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to see what PJ Tucker would do against him. That would be interesting.
Somebody said Zaza too soon.
Yeah.
That would be a question more for you. How does this Sixers team compare to the 83 Sixers?
Oh man, I mean that Sixers team was 65-17 and went 12-1 in the playoffs.
Yeah, that was the faux team, right?
I mean, yeah. So and Moses Malone was the best player in the NBA that year. They don't have a top 5 player right now. You know, Dr. J was another top 10 player easily at that point. Andrew Toney versus Redick. I mean, Toney was probably a little bit better at that point too at the shooting guard position. Mo Cheeks wasn't a great shooter, but he could at least make a 15-footer and was one of the better defenders at his position. And Mark Ivoroni played very little. But then they had Bobby Jones as a defender off the bench. Here's Butler engaging Gasol, goes to the fadeaway over him and scores.
And since it wasn't at the rim, he scored.
Yeah. I mean, that's a shot that Toronto will live with. You know, a tough contested fadeaway. It's a shot that they can get though, and that Butler can make. Leonard, another pick and pop for Ibaka, rims out. Good box out by Ennis on Leonard, who is now behind the play. They throw it back to Butler. Here's the drive by Harris, and he eludes Gasol easily. Kawhi going for the offensive rebound, put their defense out of balance. So a couple of quick buckets here. Here's a backdoor by Van Vliet, not even thinking about shooting that layup, even though he had an opening. Now Leonard trying to post up. He's being fronted by Ennis. Gets it to him. Double team. Hard double coming here. This will set up another wide open 3 for Gasol. Can't get it. Lowry tried to knock it away. Could not.
One.
Butler. Pick and roll Harris. They just switch Ibaka onto him. Tries to put him in the mix, forcing him left. Here's a 3 from Harris. That was not good enough defense from Lowry, but Harris missed the shot. Lowry, deep 3-pointer from the left wing is off. I like the pace that Toronto's playing with. They're playing faster here at home.
Yeah, and attacking early in the clock makes sense against this Philly lineup. If you can get anything, and then just pull it out if you don't.
Butler knocked away. Redick swings it. Embiid trying to post up Butler. Help comes over from Leonard, and they're going to get a foul call on Lowry, and he actually agrees with it.
Redick has only taken 1 shot so far in this game, but his attention and gravity has produced a few other ones, including that Tobias Harris 3.
Yeah, they got to do more of that handoff stuff with
he
he and Embiid, especially when Gasol is guarding Embiid. But good response here from Philly, but now Embiid is out. Simmons has returned, guarded by Leonard. He gets the screen from Redick. Now Redick all the way into the corner. That's a nice design to have that screen, and then another screen set by Monroe on Leonard. I don't know if that was even intentional. Here's Green's 3-pointer. Yes! Big 3-pointer from Danny Green. 7-point Philly lead, and they're going to look to open it up here. Or, I'm sorry, 7-point Toronto lead.
Yeah, and Toronto now 6 of 15 from 3. After a rough start, they're getting back into it.
Good defense on the floppy. Now Redick pops out, drives on Leonard. Ennis, pump fake, gets Green in the air. His 3-pointer is off. Ibaka boxing out on Monroe. Can't get it, though. And what are they going to call here?
Call a foul
Loose ball foul on Monroe.
They're not showing us replay of that. They're showing us Danny Green 3.
Leonard. They set up the double screen for him to try and engage Monroe and pick and roll. Back out Ibaka. Now he's got the one-on-one for Leonard against Monroe. They're going to just come and double here, I would imagine, as soon as he penetrates. Simmons way over in the strong side zone. Kawhi just shoots it over. And Kawhi's not quite had the touch early here. At least not the insane level he did before. Oh, great steal by Siakam off of Simmons. There's, again, Simmons' lack of shooting gravity.
A great job there, though, by Simmons helping and stalling the fast break a little bit.
Here's a drive by Lowry right down the lane. No rim protection. He's tripped from behind, and he'll go to the line.
And one of the huge structural weak points in this Philadelphia defense when Joel Embiid is not on the floor, not only is Greg Monroe a poor rim protector, but they don't really have great help rim protectors either, like kind of guys that can get over there. Like Ennis tried, Tobias Harris doesn't really do that very much, and Simmons, I would actually love to see Simmons get a little bit more of that in his game if he's going to be defending fours, but he's not quite there yet.
Yeah, my bad. He wasn't tripped from behind. He got fouled by Ennis as he released that floater. 10-point Toronto lead. This is real danger time right now for the Sixers. Simmons on the crossover back to Monroe. This sets up Ennis's three-pointer. Great pass from Monroe. Leonard did well to keep it alive. Simmons had great rebounding position. Leonard tipped it away. Siakam, he's got Lowry. Good job by Ennis staying with him. Now Siakam has got Redick. They better help here. They do. Ibaka, corner three, just does not want to take it. Instead, he'll drive easily on Monroe. 12-point Toronto lead, and the bleeding is not looking like it's going to be stanched anytime soon.
And Ibaka, 6 points in 8 minutes, a dunk, that finish, and then that mid-range jumper.
Redick. Here's the drive by Simmons again, and he's fouled.
like
Leonard got the
him
hands on him. Yeah, he put the hand on his hip, and that is sorely needed offense out of Ben Simmons.
Yeah, Simmons' first made shot of the game, his first points overall. 2 points before the free throw, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 3 turnovers for him as well. Embiid 4, Simmons 3, everyone else on the Sixers 0. But they have the ball in their hands a lot, so.
Yeah, generally I'll look at a team's overall turnover rate rather than a player's individual turnover to see, if he's really struggling. Here's Siakam, mid-ranger. Another surprise there as Harris went under the screen and Siakam made him pay.
Yeah, I'll be interested in Toronto's 2s outside the paint and, of course, their overall jump shot numbers.
Great job by Ibaka stepping out on Redick. No advantage gain on that handoff sequence. Now Monroe. Is he going to shoot a three? Oh, yeah. Oh, no.
Oh, no. That was bad.
Oh, yeah.
If he were 5 years younger, Monroe probably would be developing that shot. But it just came in a little bit at the wrong time.
Not exactly in rhythm that time either.
Well, I mean, could you be more out of rhythm? Because he's standing there, holds it, and then throws it.
So Monroe is out. He's just like... he's just
and Philly was outscored by 7 in Monroe's 5 minutes. So
corner three, corner three. Here's Siakam. Quick release jumper is off. He didn't have his feet set that time. Here's Simmons down the lane, finds Butler. Butler pump faking. Now he'll take a more contested three. Wish he would have just taken that first one. Now Lowry in transition again. He's looking to push it. Simmons knocks it away. He's ahead of the field. Gasol trying to get back. Simmons eludes him. Nice play there by Ben Simmons, who's had a couple of tips in transition. Leonard going at Ennis along the baseline. Right pass to Danny Green. Danny Green's wide open three.
And I love it when the defense expects the pass to the corner. You see that lean and then just throw it to the guy who's going to be open eventually anyway.
Yeah, and that's the advantage of pushing it back down the floor is Philly's not set. They don't know exactly who they have. They don't know where they're going to X out to, and so you just get a wide open three that way just because you attacked in transition. Butler, another miss in the lane. Yep. Lowry looking to push it. Philly's back this time. Drag screen coming from Gasol. Lowry back to Gasol. He's got Butler, swings it, and Simmons gets a hand on it. Simmons has been active defensively.
Yeah, and it's made a difference because some of those Toronto passes aren't exactly zippy, and so if you react a little bit more quickly, I mean, you have to turn your eyes away from your man, but they'll have those opportunities for deflections and at certain points steals. Simmons has Philly's only 2 steals of the game.
By the way, check out this awesome Dunked On mug available under the merchandise tab at NateDuncanNBA.com. See if there's anything interesting in the Twitterverse.
Oh, somebody did a clip already of the Greg Monroe thing.
It's still not as good as Plumlee, though.
No.
But, I mean...
Not everything has to be, Nate.
Anytime you see... well, good, because nothing ever will be. But when you just see something like that developing...
Right, especially right when it's in the foreground. It was just, you're sitting there in the shot, and the drama was not whether the shot would go in, it was whether he would actually take it. Yeah. Are the Bucks the favorite in the East right now? Yeah, I would say that they are for, I mean, the short version, I mean, they're more likely to win their second round series, but I think they'll have a good shot against whoever comes out, assuming they do.
Yeah. Yeah, catch up a little bit on stats. Leonard, only 2 of 7 for 5 points, but does have 3 assists and 0 turnovers. I think he drew a couple
fouls, too.
Yeah. Yeah, Siakam is 4 for 11, but plus 16, team best. Ibaka, I think, has been fantastic tonight. Moving him to power forward and getting him so his main role isn't guarding Joel Embiid in that second stint, late first, early second, I think has really done wonders for him and his confidence. You know, he's actually now bigger and badder than the guy that he's going against, rather than having to just physically be leaning on Embiid the whole time.
And Tobias Harris has been hitting his jump shots. He's 4 of 6 from the field. I believe all 4 of those makes have been jumpers. Maybe he had one finish around the basket.
Oh, yeah, he went past Gasol that one.
Oh, that's right, yeah. And Mike Scott, 2 of 3 from the field. But yeah, a lot of guys with, you know, Jimmy Butler's 2 of 8, JJ Redick 0 for 2, and that's why Philly 13 of 32 from the field, 1 of 7 from 3.
Yeah, and that's not enough three-pointers.
No, not even close. I mean, they've shot as many as Toronto has made.
Yeah, another interesting stat here. Transition, Toronto has run 44% of the time off of Philly misses. That in part due to the fact that they've missed all those interior shots. Mm-hmm. And Toronto actually has not scored incredibly well on those plays, but you know, just simply by running that often, you're gonna get great options.
Yeah, and now Philly, they only have 2 offensive rebounds, and so that is an 11% offensive rebound rate. And some of that is Ibaka, Gasol playing together, missing, but I mean, it's huge for Toronto to not give up as many second chance opportunities.
What do you think of 3 second violations in the corners? All respect to Kirk Goldsberry, but I think that is a solution in search of a problem.
Yeah, it's not like guys standing in the lane and, you know, that gumming up offense and defense. Having players in the corner opens things up.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what Kirk is kind of missing in this, is that all of the awesome plays that we like to see happen as Leonard comes off the screen from Siakam. All the awesome plays that we like to see happen because the floor is spaced.
Yeah, I would rather see the floor get widened than restrict.
And the idea that everyone's playing the same style to me is just not correct.
Absolutely not.
Here's Embiid, pick and pop for a 3. Leonard again. Oh, and they're going to get Danny Green for the foul, holding down Butler here. Yeah, he grabbed his right arm. Yeah. Yeah, Green has had his hand in the cookie jar on a couple of these plays.
And that's free throws. That's an even bigger foul. I mean, it would have...
Yeah, and what is that, his third or second?
I believe that's Danny Green's second.
Yeah, it's twice he's fouled Butler here.
And Butler really propping up his scoring by being efficient from the line. 2 of 8 from the field, now 6 of 7 from the line going into his last one. He has taken more free throws than anybody in the game, and he has taken more free throws than his teammates combined.
So that was a big swing there. A couple of free throws for Butler instead of a fast break for Toronto. Gasol at the elbow. They want to bring Leonard out of the corner off the Lowry screen. Now he gets it on the DHO. Goes at Embiid. He had Lowry on the opposite side, but they're going to foul Leonard. Leonard trying to say he was shooting, and he'd be lying if he said that.
And that should be on Simmons with his reach. And if they call that on Simmons, it's his third.
Yep.
And what's interesting is Simmons has been aggressive in passing lanes, and I think has done a nice job. That is not where his fouls have come from. His fouls have come from reaching on guys who have the ball.
Y'all don't think it's troubling that any shot between 3 to 22 feet is a bad shot that Noah's attempting as anything other than a last resort? No, that's not the case.
Did you watch San Antonio this year?
Well, and if you watch Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard in this series, no, the difference is that, what a move by Leonard, and he got fouled by Embiid. I was about to say, but that in and out dribble from Leonard. But yeah, that was nice. So I'll finish up on this. I do feel somewhat passionate about it. It's just basically the only thing that's happened is, and I know that teams have done some studies on this too. The only thing that's happened is spot up 2-point jumpers have now become spot up 3-point jumpers. Off the dribble mid-rangers are about the same as they've always been. And like part of what Kirk wanted is like more posting up. Like, who has like such a hard on for posting up? Like, I mean, I used to be a post player. Like, I appreciate it, but just how about the absolute best guys who can score post up and other people don't? I'm not really like the days of post up offense. It's very stagnant, much more so than like high pick and roll. All right, we're back here now. Let's get our head in the present. Here's Scott handing off to Harris. Good denial from Green. Gets a deflection. 2-on-2. Leonard didn't get a clean pass, and then Green got an even worse pass.
And Green committed a foul there, but they didn't call it.
Toronto not taking advantage of these fast breaks has been a problem. Butler trying to attack Lowry. Redick, and he loses it. 4-on-3. Siakam going to attack Harris into the lane. Back out Gasol. Quick decision, but his pass was off, and they'll reset. Siakam feeling it against Harris. Embiid coming over to help. Siakam had Gasol, missed him. Now he floats up a terrible floater and scores anyway.
I thought Gasol was going to get that as an offensive rebound.
Yeah, Gasol not too active on the offensive glass.
Yeah, but that one, he was the only one there, so it would have helped.
Here's Redick. Goes to a tough leaner to his left. Again, much less effective to his left.
And Redick has not made a shot. 0 for 3 from the field.
Now here they do run that pick and roll. Lowry closed down by Scott. Or I'm sorry, that was Leonard closed down by Scott. Here's Green with the corner jumper.
Look at that pull up too, right after you talked about it. I mean, sorry, catch and shoot too. But I mean, that was late clock. He just had to take the shot. Couldn't do the hard-in dribble, and then shoot from the corner. So, I mean, we're up to a 14-point lead for Toronto here, and they might even push it further.
Well, and Philly just looks like they have no chance to score right now. They barely get it in, and then Leonard is tripped. He's going to go to the foul line.
That's the second time in this quarter that Toronto's had real trouble getting the ball in on an inbound.
And Mike Scott, like, he'll have moments where he actually looks okay, but he's like the Gerald Green of power forwards, where he just mentally is not there enough and will just make enough mistakes that it undoes whatever good he's doing.
And appropriately for the Gerald Green of power forward, it feels like his good moments are more fluky than like because his instincts are bad. And so those things, I mean, going back even to when Mike Scott was on the Hawks and had a couple of just bizarre decisions, like that one where he let a rebound go despite not knowing which team it went out on and ended up being called the other way. I think that was in a Cleveland series, and I was just yelling at my television.
I don't think reacting to another comment, I don't think post scores are completely extinct. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns, LaMarcus Aldridge, Nikola Jokic, Embiid. I mean, there's small guys too.
And we're opening up real estate for small guys who can post. I was excited about that with Wiggins, but then Wiggins just sucks.
There's a miss by Harris. Another fast break opportunity ahead to Siakam. He's shoved out of bounds by Redick, and he'll get free throws.
And that might have been another move the cameras back thing. He might have hit his knee on the cameraman.
So Toronto now up 16. And like we said, it as soon as Embiid went out, as bad as Embiid has played, as soon as he went out, it became major problems, and Toronto is now continuing even to build on that lead with Siakam to the foul line. 2016 draft, I will freely admit, I usually do as much research as I can on the top 10 guys in the draft, and then I'll try to at least watch like all the Draft Express videos. Siakam, I had literally never heard of him when he was drafted. I want to say with the 27? No, I think Toronto actually was the number 2 overall seed that year. I think he was 29. Might have been 27th though. Oh yeah, it was 27th. You're right. Butler, forced towards the baseline by Green. Goes into the lane. Finally gets one of those floaters to go.
Yeah, it's also fun. So usually on draft night, you and I record, and then I also record with Vicini. And there, you can tell in the conversations the guys that I have no friggin' idea who it is, and so I just ask him to explain who they are.
Siakam is open up top. They swing it to him. He hesitates for a moment, takes that three, not there. Right to Danny Green, though. His three-pointer goes down. Danny Green on fire in this game, and he is getting wide open looks. 19-point Toronto lead. Butler going to try and get the 2-for-1. Embiid will take it instead.
Well, that's one way to get a 2-for-1.
I mean, he was open. It's a good
was.
shot.
He was.
Now Leonard, and another stupid Philly foul. And now Toronto actually probably got their own 2-for-1. And
yeah, with a 5-second differential, I would think so.
And certainly, Brett Brown is aggrieved just due to the theoretical disparity in foul calls here. But, I mean, these are obvious fouls.
Yeah. Also, the free throw disparity is not that extreme. I think before these free throws, it's 17-15. I think there's a foul disparity. Yeah, there is a foul disparity, but there's not a free throw disparity.
Why do we need 3 in the key? Because otherwise, the biggest guy on the floor would just stand right under the basket for the entire possession. It used to be 6 feet wide. They moved it out to 12 with George Mikan because he was just dominating so much by standing right under the basket. And then they moved it out to 16 with Wilt because, again, he was just dominating by setting up too close. 21-point Toronto lead here. Butler goes at Ibaka, tries to throw it up and get a foul call, and he does. I can't say I saw a ton of contact there live. Yeah, Ibaka did get a hand on him as he made the spin move, and he got hit in the jaw for his trouble. He's checking to make sure everything is still in place.
Oof, yeah, you got hit right on the jaw there.
So, what we might consider with this game out of hand here? You want to just turn this off when you do the second half at Denver-Portland?
Yeah, I'm
if it's close, save up a little energy.
So one thing I'll mention before, if we're going to stop, 35-16 second quarter for the Toronto Raptors. Absolutely massive, because this was a 1-point game after one.
Yeah, and just a lot of fast breaks, a lot of missed layups, a lot of turns. I mean, we can kind of sum this up here, especially because I am guessing that we will likely be focusing mostly on this first half for Dunked On anyway.
Yeah, I would think so.
Butler's, his free throws keeping Philly in it to the extent that they even are. But 11.7 left, and Toronto can pad their lead even more here. Leonard with the handoff from Lowry, going to engage Embiid in pick and roll. Back screen from Lowry into the lane. Leonard dunked on 2 guys. That play has worked beautifully. Nick Nurse had it all set up. Now Butler will take a shot from half court that almost goes in. But that play, you remember that Siakam got a dunk off of that in the fourth quarter of Game 4. And then to break it out here at this point, get a nasty dunk from Leonard with Lowry setting the screen on Embiid and no help available from Lowry's man. Kawhi Leonard gives Toronto a 21-point halftime advantage. So, Ben, if you wouldn't mind doing the shot charts for us, we'll kind of take stock here. Toronto 128 offensive rating in the first half. Is that what I'm seeing here? Yes. 64 points on 50 possessions.
Whew.
Philly only 43 points on 50 possessions. 86 offensive rating. 64% true shooting. Toronto has been able to curb their turnovers in the second quarter. Philly was not. Still 18% turnovers. Toronto winning on the offensive glass. Remember that Philly totally dominated
Well,
their
and I
games
would
2
frame
and
it
3.
more in terms of them winning on the defensive glass because Philly's not getting any of their offensive rebounds.
Yeah, 9.5%. And a lot of that has been the two big lineup. I think they kind of went to that out of desperation, frankly, with Siakam injured and Powell and Van Vliet so ineffective. But that has been great. They've totally shut off the offensive glass with that. They've gotten more rim protection. And for Philly to miss that many close shots and only get 9.5% offensive rebounds is a massive problem. Both teams getting to the foul line about equally, despite all the complaining about the calls from the Sixers. Butler leading Philly with 15 points, 9 of 10 from the foul line. I mentioned the offensive rebounding, only 2 for Philly, and they've turned it over 9 times, 4 by Embiid, 3 by Simmons, and Butler only 3 of 10 from the field. Redick, completely non-existent, negative 20, 0 points, 0 for 3 in 18 minutes, which is more than he would normally play as well.
4 of Toronto's 5 starters are already in double figures. Siakam leading the pack with 15 points on 15 shooting possessions, 2 of 5 from 3, but those 2 were pretty important because they got Joel Embiid out a little bit more on the floor. Kawhi Leonard, 13 and 10, 3 assists, 2 steals, plus 17 in 22 minutes. He's pretty good at basketball.
Will we come back if it is close? Yeah.
Yeah, we'll
I
be
think
here,
we would.
so we probably would.
But I think it's just a better use of resources to,
Not.
yeah.
But thank you all for being here, and hopefully you can join us again for...
Well, here, let's do. We can do a little
we
more.
can answer some questions.
Or a little more discussion on the shot charts, too.
Oh, Ben
I
posted.
did ask
They
them
weren't
for Ben, yeah.
they weren't in yet. Okay.
Yeah, Toronto 6 of 10 at the rim, a further 4 of 5 in the paint, non-restricted from floater range. They've been dominant on the long twos, but only 2 out of 7 so far in the first half. Leonard really, he's been much more active as a penetrator. They've tried to bring more help when he's been in the mid-range, and then the three-pointers for Toronto. I mean, the number of three-pointers that these two teams are getting up. Philly 1 out of 10, Toronto 8 out of 20, and that's way more three-pointers than Toronto's been getting up, and a big part of that has been the fast break. 14 fast break points to 4 for Toronto.
Some might remember that Philly had 10 shots in the restricted area in the first quarter, only 3 of 5 in the second quarter, 1 of 4 total in the half from floater range, 5 of 9 from mid-range, but then not making threes, 1 of 10 overall from 3, 1 of 6 above the break, 0 for 3 from the corners, including that magnificent Greg Monroe miss.
All right, couple more questions here. Are players like Embiid and Steph moving down the rankings this postseason? It's not. Embiid has been injured. He's had all these issues, but that's part of why he was ranked lower too.
Yeah.
Brooklyn was not a real playoff defense. I don't really give a ton of credence to what he was able to do in that series. And Gasol is a great matchup for him. I think even healthy, he has not been that great against Gasol. So yeah, certainly Embiid. You would say. I mean, I had Embiid. I got a lot of shit from the Philly market for Embiid being, like 11th, I think, in my rankings. Certainly you would have to say Jokic has surpassed him, even with the inferior competition that Jokic is going against.
Well, we've seen Jokic's offense hold up, and I think that's really important.
And Steph, I mean, I had him at number 2. You had him at number 1. So, yeah, I think
I had Giannis 1.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You had Steph 2 and KD 3. Was that it?
That sounds right.
Yeah, so, certainly I had KD number 1, and I think I had Steph 2, Giannis 3, Harden 4. I think Harden has been about what would have been expected. We'll see how he finishes this series. But I think I would have Giannis, Kawhi, and KD looking like the top 3 right now, but we still got to see how the rest of these playoffs play out. And obviously there is the matter of regular season value, which, as LeBron James would tell you this year, is not meaningless. Anyone seriously moving down the rankings? Yeah, I think Steph would be up there.
Yeah, and it's also, I mean, I think there's a little
Kyrie has not been very good.
With Steph, that he's having the problem where his two of his best games in the playoffs were the first 2 games of the playoffs, and the Clippers are not near the level of defensive team, especially with Beverly guarding KD. So that he's losing a little bit on that as well. But that's only, that's a part of the story, and we'll see where things go.
All right. I think let's call it here, and we'll be back. We'll do the full second half of Denver and Portland, assuming it's close. We will talk to you all then. Hopefully you guys are in agreement of that decision. I just don't really feel like doing a 20-point game here when we could do something that's a little closer. All right. Talk to you all in, I don't know, what, 2.5 hours, something like that? All right. Bye.